Chapter 23, The Man with the Twisted Face. The music at the hotel and restaurant outside the PRISM facility was in full swing. A few hours had gone by, and Joel and Rachel were enjoying each other more than the meal itself. While too much wine distracted their officer, they secretly stole away to a secluded area. Rachel laughed with glee as Joel gently pulled her by the hand and whisked her away from the crowd. Her blue dress fluttered through the breeze and sparkled in the twilight as they ran. Soon they entered a domed archway through the hotel, which led to an immense cathedral full of flowers and twinkling lights in front of an altar.
Is all of this for us? Oh, Joel, you've done it.
Rachel was thrilled to realize that not only had Joel proposed, but he also arranged for a pastor to marry them on the spot. She had no idea how he had pulled this off in such a short time, but she did not question it.
Anything for my beautiful lady,
he said. They gazed deeply at one another as they recited their sacred vows.
I do.
Rolled from their lips with ease. Tears of jubilation erupted from their eyes as Joel embraced Rachel, sealing it with the passionate kiss they had both longed for. Even the hotel manager who served as their witness could not hide wiping several tears from her face, and she was elated to help them secure their own private wedding ceremony. Joel could not deny Rachel or himself their true inner desires, and she had now become his wife. He tipped the pastor well for his service. Ivan had been aware of Joel's plans, even making a few calls to help with the details, but Mrs. Kozlov had no idea of what had occurred. The sun had long since set. Rachel lay beside Joel in their wedding bed, wrapped up in his arms and more in love with him than ever. She never knew she could feel this close to another person. The heat between their bodies had merged, rippling through their senses. She looked down to admire the ring that would bind her to Joel forever, and could not help but notice its glow despite the dim lighting. It seemed to grow brighter as if the light had emanated from the sapphire, amethysts, and diamonds themselves. Joel had been gazing lovingly at Rachel's eyes.
Happy?
He asked.
Yes, definitely.
She smiled warmly and caressed his brow.
I wish this moment could last forever.
Yes,
Joel said, admiring her beautiful face. He caressed her long dark hair gently through his fingers. Then they embraced for a long, passionate kiss. As they clung together, another wave of warmth engulfed them. After a while, Joel thought about the wedding that Rachel had been dreaming about and wanted to give her heart's desire.
Once we have our bigger ceremony with our families, I will give you a beautiful wedding band to match that one.
Rachel smiled and nodded.
We will have to get you another one too.
They both laughed at his temporary wedding band that Joel had obtained from a gumball machine.
It is golden.
He grinned.
I will always cherish it.
This is more romantic than I ever could have imagined,
she said, smiling sweetly. However, her jewel's light persisted in grabbing their attention, and the room started to tremble. The gemstones on Joel's watch and Rachel's necklace also began to radiate.
Rachel, I really hate to say this, but we need to get out of here. You and I both know what that glow means.
She nodded in agreement. They quickly gathered their things and headed back to the restaurant.
We need to meet our driver and get to a safer place than this.
These earthquakes are becoming a daily event, but I feel safe as long as I am with you,
Rachel said as she hurried by his side. Joel smiled at her, and he sensed her dread about her mom expecting her to stay with them at PRISM.
Don't worry. We will figure out a plan to stay together, even if I have to tell your mom myself. Maybe I can do a few more interviews until she gets distracted enough for us to leave together.
Rachel held onto his arm, relieved to have him taking up for her. As soon as they returned to the restaurant, a distant sound of thunder grew close, and the tables began to shake violently.
Take cover!
Shouted Joel. Everyone inside started to panic as Joel and Rachel huddled underneath the table. The entire building began shaking more violently. Overflowing glasses and plates fell and shattered all around them. It was as if a peal of thunder ripped right through the restaurant, collapsing a few of its thick beams like toothpicks. After a few minutes, the shaking stopped, and panicked people began pouring out of the restaurant. Some were slightly injured, and many started frantically dialing on their phones for help. Outside, there was a strange fog so thick that PRISM was indistinguishable. Joel and Rachel helped a few of them exit the building. Their eyes surveyed the scene, and they prepared to defend themselves in case their enemy was near.
Where's our driver, the officer?
Asked Joel.
Over here, Joel. Look!
Rachel grimaced and pointed to his body just around the corner from the entrance. His head was bloody and his eyes were open. Joel bent down and checked the body, but he was stone dead. Before they could get help, Joel saw 2 black boots shift before him. He looked up, and the man with the twisted face towered over his head. He had snaked out of his hole to try to steal Rachel's ring, just as Joel thought he would.
Rachel, run!
Joel managed to dodge the man as he tried to grab Joel's wrist. The stones on his watch glowed brighter than ever. Joel's instincts kicked in, and he gave the man a swift punch to his face, knocking him backward. He found the keys from their driver's side pocket, grabbed them, and flung them toward Rachel.
Get in the car!
However, Rachel hesitated, not wanting to leave Joel's side. The man drew his gun toward them, but the shot refused to fire. Joel ran at him, jumped, and landed his foot on the man's face. Then Joel wrestled him to the ground and pinned him in a headlock. Rachel stood watching in shock. However, her defenses kicked in. She stuffed the keys in her purse and grabbed a large shovel nearby. Her jewels continued to radiate brightly.
Tell me where she is! I know you have my mother! Tell me what you've done with her!
Shouted Joel. The man's voice sounded partially young and partially ancient. A high and a low voice blended.
You'll know soon enough.
Before Joel could react, the man contorted and transformed into a serpent form. He towered over Joel with his glowing red eyes and thorny scales. However, Joel stood up, his arms and body again illuminated with strength. Energy coursed through his veins. Rachel nearly fainted, but realized that she too had gained superior strength. A protective light encompassed her body, and she maintained a firm grasp on the shovel. The viper hissed and struck at Joel several times. Joel dodged each strike. He cocked his fist and swung toward the creature, the same as he had done during their match in the tunnels. However, it suddenly disappeared. The creature had teleported at will. He reappeared next to Rachel. She reacted by swinging the shovel hard against the serpent's head. It made a gong sound that reverberated. The creature recoiled, teleported again, and was gone. Joel was stunned, not only by the creature, but by Rachel's beautiful force.
That's what was in the tunnels with us.
She cried, attempting to catch her breath.
Yeah, that was it!
Joel paused and couldn't resist saying,
Remind me never to make you mad.
Despite the terror they had experienced, they could not help but laugh a little. These situations were becoming a daily event. They looked at their gemstones, still glowing, and they knew that God protected them,
I think I'm starting to get the hang of these battles,
said Rachel, surprising Joel.
I love being your wife.
They embraced.
I always knew you are the one for me.
He grinned,
As long as we trust in God, there is no stopping us.
said Joel. Since they were around the corner, others had not witnessed these events. As Rachel and Joel searched for the creature in every direction, they received a few confused looks. However, they ignored them. They looked around for their driver's body, but it was gone as well. Before the ambulances and police arrived to help the small crowd affected by the earthquake, Rachel and Joel jumped into the car and sped into the fog,
We have to warn the others.
said Joel, trying to manage his steering.
Joel, watch out!
Rachel yelled. A dark, towering creature appeared through the fog in front of their car. Their headlights revealed just enough to see. It seemed half-human, but with a huge head and distorted, jagged features. Its armored skin reflected the lights. They braced for impact with their tires screeching and sliding. Rachel clung to the seat.
Oh God, help!
She cried, squeezing her eyes shut. Right before impact, the creature suddenly vanished. Their car passed through where it had stood in a wisp of fog. They drove on in shock, and soon the bizarre fog disappeared.
What was that thing? That one had a different look. How many of these things are loose?
I don't think I want to know, but at least our stones have stopped glowing.
Said Joel. Rachel examined her ring and necklace, and both of them grew dim. Somehow it calmed them a little. Joel slowed down cautiously as a few police cars raced in the opposite direction toward the restaurant. Although it was a short drive, it seemed like an eternity since they had first left PRISM. They did not take any time to return to the facilities and run up the steps. Joel paused before they reached the entrance to call the police, but stopped short when he saw their driver walking toward them.
Thought you'd pull the slip, did you? Kids these days.
He said as he jerked the keys from Joel's hand. Rachel and Joel were stunned. There was not a scratch on him,
What happened to you, man? We thought you were dead.
said Joel.
As you can plainly see, I'm alive and well. Why did you grab my keys and take off? Can't a guy relax and enjoy a drink once in a while? Her parents are paying me good, but don't push me. You got it, Oz.
He said as he pushed his finger into Joel's face.
Yes, sir.
Said Joel, too shocked to say another word to the guy. The driver turned sharply and went back to sit in the vehicle.
Who's that guy? How did he get here, past that thing on the road?
Asked Rachel, almost too shocked to put her words together.
I don't know. But this place... it's the same as before, but different.
Joel looked around as if he sensed something.
Well, I see that you two are already back.
Said Ivan, meeting them at the entrance. He was surprised when they looked startled by his approach.
Dad, you won't believe what happened. Our jewels were glowing, and there was some sort of an earthquake. We thought our driver was dead, but he wasn't, and something in the fog...
Rachel could see a hint from Joel motioning for her not to say anything more.
Totally not what I was expecting to hear about your proposal, Joel. But I can see the ring on her finger. Where did you go to pull off some special effects like that, man?
Dad, I'm serious.
Rachel said in defense.
Rachel and I went to the restaurant and we did have a slight tremor, but everything was amazing. I got the answer I was hoping for.
Said Joel, squeezing Rachel's hand slightly. He glanced at Rachel, who was taken entirely by surprise. She was amazed at how quickly he could mask his feelings about what had happened. However, Joel's heartbeat had intensified, propelling him to redirect his actions to save his mother.
I'm sure we will hear every detail if Ishani has her way. So did you seal the deal?
He grinned.
Dad,
Said Rachel awkwardly.
The deal is sealed.
Said Joel with a boastful blush.
That a boy.
Said Ivan, patting Joel's back. Rachel's blush deepened.
I promise, though, Rachel, you will have the most exquisite wedding after everything calms down. I figured that you two had waited long enough. Let's not let Ishani in on this just yet, for all our sakes.
Rachel and Joel nodded.
Right now, though, things are picking up at work.
How did things go? Were you able to complete the first experiment?
Asked Joel.
Yes, we are still gathering the data now.
If Dr. Pandora is available, I would like to interview him once more before Ishani kicks me out the door, if that's okay.
Said Joel.
Yes, he is waiting for the results, which could take some time. He is in his office now. And congratulations, you two. We will have to celebrate.
Joel thanked him as he walked down the corridor with an astonished Rachel. Ivan walked ahead of them, leading the way back inside. Once he was out of earshot, Joel whispered to Rachel quietly as the scientists rushed about their business.
Don't get me wrong. We do not want to alarm your parents or tip off anyone who might be dangerous. There is definitely something going on here. And I've got a gut feeling that my mom's disappearance is somehow tied to it. The less we say, the more answers we might find.
What will we do, Joel?
She could see her dad approaching her mother and some other scientists ahead.
You go on ahead to your mom. Just keep her talking about wedding stuff when she's around. I will see if I can get anything out of Pandora. Then, I will come back for you. I promise.
I can't help it. Without you, I'm scared.
Said Rachel.
Just play along and keep your eyes and ears open. I'll be back as fast as I can, but I have to try and look around to find some answers.
Be careful, Joel.
Rachel's eyes began to tear up, but she held it in as best she could. Ivan directed Joel toward Pandora's office. Joel kissed Rachel goodbye and she trembled as tears continued to fill her eyes. She felt a wave of sadness over being separated from Joel, as if her mother was closing them off, forever imprisoning her within this underground science lab. Her mom would not really be there for her. Rachel knew that. Every step away from Joel felt wrong, and the alarmed feeling in her heart was almost too much to bear.